Good morning, good afternoon. I think it's still morning for me here on the West Coast. Good day,
Yes,
folks.
morning,
Welcome
James.
to
Morning.
Perspectives in Focus. My name is James
Thank
Hicks.
you.
Today, we are going to have a fun conversation. We're going to talk very technically, but we're going to have an interesting conversation to make it relative to everyone out there. Behind the scenes, I have Sara Savelli. Sara is a global manufacturing science and technology project manager who is focused on cell and gene technologies at a very large life science and biotechnical organization. Her organization is a leading supplier for active chemical ingredients and solutions to the pharmaceutical and agrochemical industry. Today's discussion, is going to be focused on making these incredibly technical terms and functions and processes more relatable to each of us, the consumer. We're essentially going to be answering the question of why her role and her company matter to the greater good, and we're going to really try to dive into understanding the technology behind the science. So, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, welcome Sara Savelli to the show. Sara, how you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you, James. Thanks for having me today.
Fantastic, fantastic. I'd be remiss if I didn't at least say hello to the folks who are joining us. I told people that I was talking to a rock star today. So people are jumping in and saying and showing their appreciation, saying hello. So thank you all for
Hi,
joining the
everyone.
conversation. And if you
So,
have a question for Sara, please put a Q in front of it and we can probably dialogue and converse about that as well. So Sara, I tell you what, I gave kind of the quick elevator introduction of you, but it's always best to have the individual actually speak and say who they are. So if you don't mind telling the people who you are.
absolutely. So, let's say for the large audience, I am a manufacturing science and technology scientist, and I work in the cell and gene therapy field. For a small group of individuals familiar with the terminologies I use in the biotech industry, my role is manufacturing science and technology project manager. So, as James mentioned, I work for a large biotech industry, and we manufacture life-saving drugs. And the role of MSAT is very particular. So let's say the MSAT play a critical role in the technology transfer. So technology transfer is a process of transferring a technology from two entities, right? So, and in my context, these entities are the sending unit, which is the normally the client, a research-based organization, to a receiving unit, which is the CDMO, right? So the industry that has the ability to manufacture the drug product in GMP and to ensure that the drug product is safe and effective for the end user. So why the technology transfer is so important? So technology transfer, per se, isn't a profitable, right? Aspect of my work, but it is a mandatory requirement from a regulatory standpoint. So basically ensures that the research is properly translated into the clinical application. So, and that's absolutely key to understand to make sure that gaps are identified in preclinical phase and there are fixed, they are mitigated before these drugs are actually being used, right? So that's a high level summary of what I do.
That's the 30,000 foot level. For the people like me sitting in the back of the room, if you if you could, so again, how that translates, how that relates to
Summarize.
us, either again from a an understanding of your role and I guess an understanding of your organization and how that relates to us on a day-to-day basis, what you do, right? How do I see what you do in terms of what I do on a daily basis for myself and for my family? Again, are there products, services, I don't want to put any words in your mouth, but again, what are the aspects of what you do at your organization, and how do I take advantage of your research?
Absolutely. So yes, I mean we don't do MSAT doesn't do research actually. We are mainly involved in translating that research, right? So we make sure that the manufacturing process that is behind, the drug itself, the physical drug that is delivered to the end user is robust enough, right, and meet all the requirements for the drug product to be safe and effective. So, and that's an important portion because we are not creating, I mean, in the job that I do, I'm not generating a batch that are at that stage of the tech transfer actually delivered to the patients. but it's a preparation phase, right? So we make sure that everything is all set, right? So the equipment is ready, facility is ready, right? The materials are in,
Mm,
and everything meets the GMP requirements. And GMP requirements are good manufacturing practices, and are simply a set of rules and procedures that are adopted by the pharmaceutical industry to make sure that they, we deliver a drug that is safe for the end user. So that would be a little bit in small, simple words.
got
Um,
you. Okay.
but it's a
So,
cross-functional activity. So my activity is cross-functional. So we really work as a team. So I take care of the portion that is regards the manufacturing process and the materials equipment used in the manufacturing process, and make sure that all gaps are closed. But of course, there are thousands of aspects, right? In preclinical phase, you take care of. I mean, even at the quality control, quality assurance, and so we really, work as a team to make sure that we are, delivering this benefit to the end user, because that's what we do. Right? We're making life-saving drugs, and life-saving drugs have a value, right? And the value is in their benefits. And yeah, I think that's exactly what
okay.
makes this job awesome.
I appreciate that because that actually is the statement that I was looking for, right? The quality assurance aspect, right? So you're providing technical expertise around quality assurance for the, the products and services that your organization is delivering. Now,
Exactly.
you talked about a lot of medical issues and things like that. There's a ton of things that are out there affecting society today. Now, are there specific ailments out there that your organization is focused on? Cancer. The world stopped for 18 months
Absolutely.
because of
Yeah.
COVID and things like that. Are there something specific that
Yeah.
you're focused on?
Absolutely. So we need to make a difference, because biotech industry I work for is a large biotech industry. As you really mentioned at the very beginning, we specialize in different kind of biotherapeutics, right? So I can speak to the cell and gene therapy, division, because that's a specific
Mm,
division. It's
hmm.
focused on cell and gene technologies. So, well, maybe it's worth explaining what cell and gene technology is, right? So it is, let's say that these therapies are groundbreaking discoveries, and I really like to find groundbreaking discoveries because they really are, they have the ability to treat, to cure a variety of disease, from genetic disorder, autoimmune disease, cancer, a lot of even metabolic disorders, and they really have the ability to offer a better quality of life to especially those individuals that have unmet clinical needs, and they don't have other treatment options. So, and why is that? Because I mean, I like defining cell and gene therapies as advanced medicinal therapy medicinal products, so ATMPs, as the European Commission likes to define them. And there are, of course, therapies used in humans and based on sound genes, tissues. So many protocols are combined, right? So they use cell and gene technologies, meaning that isolate cells from source that can be your patient or patient material if the application is autologous, or it can be a donor if the application is allogenic, meaning that you are isolating from a donor population, and then you are at the end, right? So after the manufacturing process, you want to use that specific drug to treat a variety of patients. So that's the allogenic application. And so cell therapy and gene therapy focus on the transfer of genetic material, right? So to a body, to the organism, and that genetic transfer. I mean, it happens via a vector, right? A carrier. It can be viral vector or non-viral vector if it's a plasmid, and then you really insert a sequence, a stretch of DNA, a recombinant DNA, and then when this approach is combined with cell therapy, what you do is you really have some cells, right? You expand ex vivo and carry that genetic modification, and then you really expand them ex vivo, trying to reach the clinical therapeutic dose to then return those cells into either the patients, or deliver the cells to multiple patients again if it's the application is allogenic. So that's the summary of what cell and gene is.
I got it. I got it. And thank you again for going into clarity and in detail on that because again, I think a lot of times I'll talk to folks on the front end, right? Folks either on the marketing side, on purely the business side of talking about what an organization does and what their product service or offering is. But now we're peeling layers back. Now I'm talking to someone like you, Sarah, who sees behind the scenes, kind of talks the what goes how I hate to say this, how the sausage is made, right? But again, and then we're translating that, hopefully trying to translate that to us, the individual, us, the end consumer, for understanding the value of the work that happens. So again, folks, like I said, we were going to talk about the technology behind the science, and Sarah, PhD, is the person to talk to. Again, if you got a question about some of the offerings and the things that she does from a technology perspective, please do bring those up. Let me ask you, I guess, what drives that passion for you? That passion for science, that passion for information, that passion for that quality assurance, making sure that what you and what your organization does. So let's talk about that, I guess, from a professional side. What drives your passion for science? Let me start right there.
It's definitely the mission, right? So it's the
Mm,
use of science. I mean, leveraging the science to help people in need, and that's what definitely drives my passion. I've majored really over the years to strong patient focus,
mm,
both customer and patient focus. So this really emotional maturity really started pretty much when I graduated, right? So. And that is exactly what drives my passion. It still drives my passion because there's a mission, a really noble mission behind what we do, what really work. So, and I mean, it's an awesome job, honestly speaking. So,
I love that. And you, where did you go to school? I'm just curious.
yeah, I'm Italian, so I graduated. Yes, I'm Italian, so Italian origin, and actually moved to the US very recently. And I'm by education a molecular biotechnologist, so really I'm a scientist, and I graduated with a master's degree in molecular biotechnologist. And then actually, I continued my studies. I enrolled in a 5-year postgraduate program that is considered equivalent outside Italy to a PhD.
Yeah.
But actually, I mean, we need to point out it's absolutely a PhD and this biochemistry is a 5 years postgraduate program lead to very different, distinct aspects, right? Career paths. So if you take this postgraduate program and it's belongs to the medical school, I mean, I specialized in clinical biochemistry. You really it means that you want to have a career in the healthcare industry, right? So
Mm,
and it is very clinical oriented. So that's why I majored in strong customer patient focus. So I started my career. Remember, when during the postgraduate program, I was working at hospitals. So
mm,
that's when I started my career, and specifically in the diagnostic medicine laboratory. So that's where I learned the really different kind of diagnostic technologies to analyze, biomarkers in biological fluids, all this kind of stuff. And then when I landed, into the specific sector, which is the transfusion medicine and transplant biology division at that hospital, and that is a really, I think at that point started really my growth. And yeah, I mean, I started working in genetic laboratory,
okay.
and that's exactly the moment where I learned to deal with work pressure and time pressure. Because
Mm,
I don't know if people know that, but especially when you are just, what I used to do was really analyzing the histocompatibility between a donor and a patient, right, in the context of bone marrow transplant or solid organ transplant. And what maybe the people in the audience doesn't know is that when you have a diseased donor, right? So that diseased donor, you have a really tight time frame to run all possible tests in the laboratory and make sure those results are accurate because during that time it is a really tight time frame during which your organ and that organ is kept alive. So
okay.
you need to make sure in that time that you find the right match. And I think it really that was the moment where I saw the massive growth. And but then my life took twist. I switched from diagnostic medicine to the cell therapy field, and the first, and that happened actually in an easy way because I was working unpaid, and that I think explains a lot of my passion because the first 2 3 years of my postgraduate program actually I wasn't paid, but I was working as a full-time employee.
Okay.
And but then when the hospital received this regional funding, and there were the budget was allocated to the silent tissue bank. That's where I switched the career and I got closer to the cell therapy, environment and field.
Love it. Love it. See, it was a loaded question. because I knew the answer of where you went to school, and I knew that you were the scientist. But I did that to show subject matter expertise, right, for the folks listening and watching, so folks understand that you I know you're the real deal. Now everyone else knows that you're the real deal as well. What's great and what's interesting, and we didn't plan this, but you touched on some things about the, I'm gonna say, the mental stress levels, or the amount of pressure on you to do your job and to do your role effectively. I did want to go into something particularly, and let's talk about that, because again, we talked about the passion for science from a professional perspective, but again, everything that you do, everything that you're involved in, all different stages of diagnoses, all different stages of illness, things like that, that's got to wear on someone significantly, right? And how you deal with that. So we talked about the professional side. Let's talk about the personal side. And I do want to bring up this particular tweet that you sent out, and go kind of in context about this, right? And I'll read it out to folks. After, don't be embarrassed, too. I'm going to read your tweet out online. After 15
Yeah, it
minutes
was a
of
lot. So
pause and deep
yeah.
breathing, I can pretty much sum up my life in the following lines. I have had and still have hundreds of reasons to feel frustrated, and as many moments in which I felt and feel desperately helpless. But I have three very good reasons to feel empowered. One, I turned my passion into a career and I get paid to have fun. That's really cool right there, which is very rare. I have a mission that started with helping people in need even before realizing that was my mission, and it's now expanding into making the world a better place for future generations to live. That is the result of a long self education process that is changing my beliefs and driving little meaningful actions in my daily life. My freedom. That cannot be taken for granted, and I will always be grateful to my old generation for what I have now. Life isn't perfect, but as a gift, I learn to appreciate the present, because what I have today might vanish tomorrow. So when such helplessness, when such helpless moments come, I take a walk or a run. And if it is pouring outside, like it's doing right now in the East Coast, I don't care, because I love getting soaking wet and letting my feelings slip in the rain. Sarah, talk about this. This is
Yeah.
we got to go into this, right, because this is timely. It's happening right now, and it speaks to everything literally that you just said. So let's talk about that right there. That's driving you, that keeps you sane, keeps you grounded.
Yeah, there's a lot to say behind those lines, really.
That's a good one right there. That,
Let's
that
say
that's a
I
tweet
grew
right
up
there
that
that
exactly.
you should be saving in the archives for sure.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, I was really experiencing in that moment the deepest level of frustration. Um, well, I haven't had an easy life, definitely. I mean, I was definitely very lucky to have supportive parents again, because right, so and also you be born in a situation where still you can still have a decent life. So that's absolutely that's the freedom part. But I also had to, had a lot of determination. I had to fight and to compete constantly with, a brother that was the genius of the family, and trying to show the people around me that I had a brain and an identity, right? So
Mm.
as a woman, that was particularly difficult, because I remember when I was at high school or secondary school, even primary school, and I was my brother's sister. So I wasn't Sarah's, I was my brother's sister, always, every time. So, and I think, I embodied that from that time,
Let's give her a second there. Probably having some internet issues
the
on her side.
words
There
used
we
to
go.
cope with my frustration, daily life frustrations. Uh, as really taking a
Oh, there it is. Definitely storming in her neck of the woods in the country there. So that's why we were having some slight audio issues as well. But I had a feeling that this was happening. We'll give it a second for her to come back. There we go.
idea. I'm sorry,
No
idea.
worries. It's that
So
crazy storm happening on the East Coast. So
yeah. So I was saying, a way that I always use to cope with my daily frustration is really just taking a walk or a run. And I'm a solitary person. I have to tell you that. So even I'm able to make tons of friends in a professional setting, because I have these networking capabilities and also a huge dose of self-awareness. So I can say that I'm accomplished, right,
Mm,
really, from a professional standpoint, because I turned my passion right into a career, as I mentioned it. But from on a personal level, I don't feel exactly complete. So yes, I
mm,
can tell you that my life is rich, right? Because it's rich because but it's rich from a professional standpoint, and that's what really keeps me motivating even in my daily life. But I can't say that I'm a complete person. A person learner, I'm very shy, for instance, right? So I'm an introvert person. I really struggle to make friends, and yeah, I mean that's also the level of frustrations, right?
yeah.
It's the portion, yeah.
That's and again, those vulnerabilities, those
Yeah,
just being able to be introspective and understanding our limitations, our whatever they
exactly.
may be, whatever adjective that you want to use, but being able to put that out there in the universe and acknowledge that and strive to do better each day, knowing where you came from, knowing where you are, knowing where you want to go. That's really what I read into that, right? You have respect for the ones that came before you. You have respect for
Exactly. Yeah.
your technology, your industry, your education, and you're utilizing your platform because you do have the platform, right? And your platform is also those last three letters at the end of your name, right? So that
Yeah.
right there, and I focus on that because I really like the fact of talking and putting on a pedestal and showing and giving everyone their flowers, women and minorities especially in prominent positions. So women in technology is huge, and we need more champions like you talking, sharing these stories, sharing these awkward, vulnerable stories as well, because that focuses and helps folks get into those STEM environments, so right, the science, technology, education, engineering, and math. So had to get it right. So
Yeah.
kudos to you on that. Appreciate that that dialogue and being vulnerable for a second. Let's talk about the role and talk about the future. So we talked about past and present, but future evolutions of your type of a role, what it is that you do, um, future evolution of things within your industry and your field of focus. What do you see for the biotechnology, agri technology? Just again, what you see on a daily basis from your organization coming down the pipe.
Yeah, and thanks for this is an interesting question actually, and I mean I want to answer these questions in the most accurate way because I mean I think answer this question is important to understand the market landscape. Necessary, it's absolutely important because I mean it's absolutely key that to have a customer focus and a patient focus. But we are also part of a large organization that has many competitors, so the market is very competitive, and so it is key is important, and we'll learn to differentiate ourselves from the competitors. So, and I think that differentiation really comes from the leveraging the technology, right? So what technology has to offer. So, I mean, we have a lot of platforms, but I also foresee that there will be many other, I mean, speaking of from the cell gene therapy and cell gene therapy
Mm,
context, so there will be a lot of cell and gene technologies, right? So being developed and even targeting the same clinical indication. So how do we remain competitive, right? So how do we ensure that we remain in the same business, especially we actually sustain that competitive advantage, and then it's exactly. I mean, I can say the CGT market is highly influenced and driven by the ongoing progresses in technology. So what we can do, I mean, from a CDMO perspective, it is important that we focus on how do we automation, so on technology that really allows us to automate, industrialize, cell and gene therapy processes, and to bring those processes to the market as soon as possible at an affordable price. And I
mm,
don't know, even artificial intelligence. Now there's a lot of focus on artificial intelligence or virtual reality, machine learning, all this kind of. I see them as enablers, as tools, right? That allows us to improve operational efficiency. And when you improve operational efficiency, you also automate processes, and you are a better chance to produce, I mean, manufacture in a more efficient way at lower costs. And I think that's important. That should be the focus, and that helps us doing things differently from our competitors. And And especially, I mean, now I see that these aspects are gaining a lot of attention from regulatory entities, especially the FDA, and we know that governance, policy, and procedures are really the highest value to entry in the market space. So I think it's key to understand, how these entities regulate these technologies. And yeah, I
Okay.
think we will see a lot of advancement in terms of technology, new platform. Yeah.
Let me. I got two. Now I have two questions. I only had one question that I was going to ask, but you brought something up that I kind of want to ask again with, and I keep saying it. I use this phrase, with the world stopping for 17 months, right? And has that caused your team, your organization to pivot and focus more 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 finely on COVID, right? Again, so you were doing work, you were doing business before the pandemic, right? And you probably focused on a number of different things, a number of different diagnoses, and a number of different technologies, things like that. But has what we as a planet have gone through this past 17 months has that taken obviously the priority over any of those other activities? And do you see any of that shifting, or do you see more resources coming? How has that affected you from a
Yeah.
day-to-day basis, right? What you focus on?
Yeah, so absolutely didn't change anything in which sense. So we remained sort of competitive, right?
Mm,
And we just increased our, portfolio. We just, increased them in
mm,
the, we introduced the more modalities, right, within our portfolio. And yeah, we just started manufacturing. We just, focus a little bit more on what was an emergency situation at that time, but we still, kept absolutely the other, manufacturing processes ongoing. So, I mean, we are a large biotech industry. It just was, even an opportunity for us to explore new areas of business, and which has absolutely take the priority right now. I mean, and of course, material shortage or this kind of
oh
stuff,
yeah,
has
yeah.
been a, problem, general problem, but absolutely nothing affected us.
My goodness, my goodness. All right, fun question, right? We dove all the way down, and we got real technical. But again, I'm a technologist by education and trade, and we talk technology. You talking platforms and hardware and stuff like that. For you, what's your favorite piece of technology? And don't say your cell phone. Lord, don't say. You know
No, no,
what?
no,
Whenever I
no.
ask this and people say their cell phone, I want to know. What's your favorite piece of
You really want to
technology?
say your favorite piece of technology? That
Yeah.
specific question. Wow. So, um, okay, I have to think about that, really. I think it is the self separation machine.
My
Okay,
goodness. So
because
so hold on. You got
yes,
to draw me a
self
picture of
separation.
that or something. Yeah, we got to talk about
Yeah, it's
that.
not actually that is yeah, it's a salt separation is a CPEX technology. So it really is it's cool. And I love that. I mean, I think I learned to use this in the past. No, actually, there's another one. Oh my goodness, I forgot that one. That is my favorite, but I don't know if I can mention it anymore. It's a cell expansion machine. It's an automated bioreactor. That's absolutely the coolest thing that I've ever worked with.
You can't just throw that out there and just leave it. Talk a little bit about. Say that again.
Yeah,
For,
it's an allo fiber bioreactor, and it's used to culture cells and expand cells in a closed system, in a
yeah.
closing manner. So, and just yeah, I mean, just you upload your cells in there, and you just wait, right? And it does everything. Does everything. It's a completely automated process. You just take samples. You have to monitor, your process. So your cells are growing. Of course, I mean, it doesn't have a camera, right? So you can't really actually see what's happening inside. But you can monitor, parameters, and to make sure that everything is growing fine inside. And you can, it's incredible because it's a very compact. It's such, really small bioreactor with a lot of fibers. And the cells. I mean, it depends on you can grow different cell lines, right? So I work on a specific cell line, but at the end you got a huge number. You really recover a huge yield of cells, and really meet the durability goals. And so it was really cool. Yeah.
See that, folks, right there. There's true scientist answer right there. I normally get cell phone, laptop, or some piece of software. Sarah's talking about cell separation devices, things like that. So that's pretty cool. Appreciate that. How can folks stay in contact with you? I'm thinking you have a phenomenal story. You have a phenomenal industry that you're working in. You're in a great position to continue to educate. Especially the generations coming after you. Uh, I will definitely put in the show notes your Twitter page, right? So you'll start getting more followers on Twitter, probably. But again, is this
Yeah,
probably the best way for folks to get in touch with you in case they have any
LinkedIn.
questions after checking this out?
They can use even my LinkedIn platform, or
Okay.
yeah, Twitter is fine as well. But I'm on LinkedIn as well. I think that's where my whole network is. So I have a lot of followers on LinkedIn. So it depends, but they can use both definitely. I don't
Awesome.
use Twitter that much, so just yeah, made an account really recently.
Oh,
But I'm
we're
on
gonna find a
LinkedIn
way
for
to
those.
blow this Twitter up. We're definitely gonna find a way to get you some more
Yeah,
followers for sure. Uh, Sarah, I want to be cognizant of your time, and I want you to get that opportunity to maybe go out and run in the rain today, because that's what's happening right there in your neck
yes,
of the woods. I know that's
and
on your
that's
mind.
my plan.
I know that's
That's my
on
plan.
your agenda. But first and foremost, I'd be remiss. Thank you for taking the time today, right?
Absolutely,
Because
friends.
I think this was an important conversation. This was different of a slightly different conversation than I typically have, right? Especially on perspectives and focus, because I wanted to dive behind the scenes, pull kind of the veil back, and let folks have a conversation and hear from someone who is in the trenches. Right. Again, I'll typically talk to folks who are on the front end, folks who are talking from a financial perspective, folks who are talking about the managerial side and kind of the strategy. But it's the folks that are actually on the line during the operation pieces that we need to hear from as well, and understand that their role and their activities matter. Uh, the company matters, but more importantly, the people
The
that are
workforce.
doing the work matters. So
I agree.
that was my goal, right? So that was my selfish goal for having this conversation today. And Sarah, I appreciate you for coming on. I wish you nothing
Absolutely,
but the
friends.
best. And if you wanted to have, if you had
Thank
something you
you.
wanted to say in closing, I'll leave the floor for you. Then we'll end.
Well, it's been really a pleasure really talking to you and discussing with you, and I agree with everything you said. I mean, extremely value the workforce, the importance of workforce, especially in such a biotech industry, and also in diversity and inclusion, principles. So, yeah, I appreciate really this conversation, James.
Awesome. All right, go put on those New Balances and go hit the work and go hit the road.
Absolutely.
You guys
I'm
have a
gonna go
great day.
now.
Appreciate you now.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thank you.